is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome in, Paul Catalina and Pierre Noujaim. And look, Pierre, we're not ones to bury the lead, so you went to the Windy City last week. You took a special someone there. That wasn't me. I mean, so it wasn't me. But you are now a betrothed man.
Yes, yeah. I am. And that's why I wasn't with everybody last week, just in case everybody was wondering. It was actually a pre-planned trip for her birthday. We were going to see a concert out there. I bought those tickets months ago, but it just kind of coincided with, let's make this thing official. Let's make it happen. And lucky enough, she said yes. She had just the right amount of liquid courage in her to probably say yes at that point. So, yeah, it's a done deal, and I'm a very lucky individual. I'm super excited.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm just checking some things. What was the dowry that her father promised you? Did you get a yak or anything out of this? I don't know.
No, an emu was discussed, but this is kind of the, how people don't realize it takes time to make a trade in pro sports. Like, it doesn't just happen overnight. There are details that need to be feathered out and worked through. Like, we're still ironing all of that out.
Yeah. Well, so congratulations, buddy. As someone who has just very recently gone through this.
Yeah. Yep.
And at the same stage of life as you,
right.
I can tell you it's going to be really different. Our friend Nikki is also engaged right
I do,
now.
yes.
Of the three of us, our little trio, I was the first one to the altar, which is like nobody would have had the Vegas odds on that. No one.
You might have been the longest odd on that, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I would have paid off huge.
Yeah, big time.
Like, for a while, it was like Leicester City winning the Premier League. Like, that was the odds on it. But yeah, congratulations. Here's what your life is about to be.
Okay.
And she travels a lot for a living. So, this is going to be kind of maybe even amplified for you because it's going to come in on like a whirlwind, because she's going to be sitting at her job, away from you. And then she's going to come back after like a long trip, and then she's going to sit down and she's like, okay, on this flight, I made a list of things.
Yeah.
And here's your job. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Okay. How can I help?
Yes.
No, I like that. Like, you reserve your nose for things that you just absolutely don't want, right?
Yeah. Oh.
Outside of that, just smile and nod and be helpful.
She was on her way back from a flight from San Francisco yesterday, and in mid-flight, she texted me, said, "Remind me, I have a bunch of things that I want to discuss with you about this, that, and the other." And I said, "Okay."
Okay. Your part is essentially done in this.
Yeah.
All you had to do was ask.
Right.
And so, much like the baby part of it, like, the man's role is very minimal.
Yeah.
Need very, very little from us and much more from them. And you will have a new appreciation. But I did a little miniature elopement, which I cannot recommend enough.
Yeah.
Pierre. Now, she might want that. And if you get that opportunity, if that door opens where it's just like family and a couple friends, don't walk. Run through it.
Yeah.
Run through it. But if she wants a big wedding, then buckle up. I mean, it's because it's gonna be something.
It's nothing is set in stone, but we already kind of know what we want to do, and I've already researched everything that we want to do, and I'm thinking to myself, this is not good. This is gonna be this is not good. This is not good for anyone's bank account. This is not good for anyone's wallet. This is not going to be good. But we just nothing is set in stone. But we're going to be ironing.
But you can see where it's going.
Yes,
you can see what's going.
Absolutely.
I never thought I would have discussions like, how much does a slider cost?
Yeah.
Like, so, do you got like, what's the markup on this plate of sliders for the appetizer course? Like, what, like, are you serious? Like, you're telling me it's $45 a person for sliders?
Yeah.
Like, okay, like, I felt like Steve Martin and Father of the Bride, like turning to men and being like, listen, you give me and your dad $45, and it's not $45 a person. It's $45 for the wedding.
Yeah.
Like, we'll knock this out.
I've been to enough weddings over the course of my life, and I'm sure you have as well. And the thing that I have not thought through that I should have thought through by this point already is not one single wedding have I ever where you have a plated meal. Not one time did I ever come away from that wedding thinking, man, that was a really good plated meal. The best wedding food I've ever had has always been buffet style. That's always been the best way. Like, the plated meals all suck. They all suck, and it costs like $11,000 for that just like little piece of salmon. It's insane. It's insane. It's a racket.
Yes. It's there's a lot of things. I'll tell you, weddings to me, not as much of a racket as funerals.
Oh, well, okay.
When my father passed away, and it was terribly sad, and everybody's like, you're devastated and you're going through all this stuff. I remember like walking through the funeral home, and they're trying to sell you a casket for $25,000, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I had to tell my mom and my sister, like, do you know what what if he was standing here right now, which I have a feeling he kind of is.
Yeah.
Like,
he knows you're talking about him.
Yeah. I'm like, and you say like, hey, this thing that's only going to be out in the public eye for 2 hours, and then we're going to put it in the literal ground, is going to cost us $25,000. He would go, no.
Yeah. No.
Hey.
No.
I was like, look, here's the thing. I hear, like, I don't think I hear him, but I just know what he would say, because you're like, wait a minute. So could we rent this one for the main event, and then for the actual functionality, can we just buy one at the low cost? Because again, it's going in the actual ground.
My dad prepped me for as morbid as this sound. He said, son,
it's a good talk to have. I'll tell you.
He said, son, cremation, death is expensive. He said, cremation. And I said, okay, if that's what you want.
Yeah.
If that's what you want. Then
that's what I want.
Yeah.
I have a friend named Darren. Here's what he wants. He wants to be cremated, and then he wants his ashes thrown in the eyes of his enemies.
That's my kind of guy. That I can get with that. No problem. No problem.
I can see, look, as you're a lifelong A's fan, correct?
Correct.
So, like, I can just see, one day I'm like 85 years old, and I'm just assuming that John Fisher's going to be alive because he's a billionaire, and by that time he'll be some sort of like, on some sort of a machine.
The fact that he would still be living at that point would be the actual sticking it to us.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's even more of a thumb in the eye.
But like, I could see that, like, just having like a little baggie, like a little velvet bag, and then like I get a meeting with him, and then they kind of wheel me in next to him, and he's like, "What do you want? Who are you?" And I'm like, "Pierre Noujaim says hello from beyond the grave." Wham!
that would be. I would be one happy soul wherever I might be. I don't know where I'll be, but I will, at that moment in time, I'll be awful happy.
I'll just like out of there and be like, "Nurse, this son of a bitch needs a sponge bath."
Yeah. I only would trust you in that instance to come through for me in a situation like that 100%.
Yeah. I'm your man. I'm your man.
Oh, I know it. Oh, I know it, my friend. Trust me, I know it.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thanks,
so happy for you.
Appreciate it.
I can't wait for the text about like details. And again, if you need any advice from the secondary person perspective, I lived it, and you have to like, you have to just be like, there's going to be moments where you're like, oh man, this is a meltdown.
Yes.
And you just have to like, they don't want solutions. They want comfort. So you're just like, hey, we'll work it out. Like,
I'm getting that feeling already as we
this
speak.
This clockwise back rub motion.
Yep.
At about this pace right here. See, Garrett got married when he was like 18, right?
Yeah, I was like 8. No, I was 21. 3 days after I turned 21.
3 years after he turned 21, he got married at the courthouse.
Yes, best way to do it, bro.
It cost him the processing fee, correct?
Man, it was like $35.
Yeah,
it was
there
the
you go.
best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
I'm already on this one-way track of by the time it's all said and done. As I'm standing there at the the post-wedding party, I guarantee you, as I'm watching everybody have a great time, I will be thinking, we spent all of this money and not on a house. What in the actual F were we thinking? Like, God, that I can see it already. I can see it already.
Yeah, but guess what? Just get that out of your head right now.
Yeah.
Spend this time knowing that this is money you're never going to see again.
Yeah.
It's just gone.
Yeah.
It's
gone.
It's gone. So this is not you. Like, you're not going to hit contract and like, you're not going to get the at-bats to get this incentive. It's just not, it's not going to happen.
Let go and let God, as they say.
Exactly.
In the situation.
Exactly.
So yes, that's a healthy approach I'm going to try to take for sure.
And again, where you can say like, hey, we can do this maybe a little more. Don't use the word cheaper. Do not say cheaper.
Okay.
Don't say that. Say cost effective.
That's good. That's probably the best advice I've been given so far. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Because if you say cheaper, then it's like, and look, I was very lucky to have my wife was not trying to have a big thing.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, like the big thing when we were planning it to be a big thing was to placate the Italian side of my family, and not even placate them, but like just to keep with that tradition of big Italian weddings.
Right.
And then it got to the point of like, well, I'm 40. Like, this isn't the same thing. We had a party. Like, we went to Hawaii, we got married, then we came back here, we had a party. And then the party was way cheaper.
My future mother-in-law, who is a absolutely lovely woman in every sense of the word, I'm already getting word that she's already inviting the distant cousin of the distant cousin's garbage man that she knows through such, and I'm like, listen, lady, if you want this, you're gonna have to pony up a lot more dough. You understand this, right? So we're not inviting every single Tom, Dick, and Harry from around the corner to this wedding. I know it's a big community out here, but at the same time too, listen, these things cost money.
Yeah,
they cost a lot of money.
You'll determine, like, and again, this is the last thing, and then we'll get to actual sports.
Yeah.
But most people will not take, like, who've been through this, if you don't invite them, will not take offense to them not being invited, because they know that this is like, again, like, so say I'm coming to your wedding and I live out of town.
Yeah.
We're agreeing to spend about $1,000 on each other.
Correct.
And me, I might get to see, like, if I'm seeing a bunch of my other friends, then it's worth it. But if I'm the only friend that knows you, then I'm only getting to see you for 5 minutes while you run around this room and say hello to everybody's there.
That's a great point.
Yeah. So
that's a great point.
That's when you'll get to, like, you have to have the discussions like, I mean, would they really, like, I know you want them here and you want to see them. This is a great thing. You want to invite them because you were at their wedding in 2006, but that was 2006.
That's pretty much what I'm discovering right now.
Yeah,
100%.
you'll cull the herd really fast because you'll be like, I haven't seen that mother, and like, I haven't seen him in years.
Forever.
Yeah, like, he sent me a fantasy football trade in 2017. That's the last time we actually exchanged words.
And it was a terrible trade offer. Like,
hey.
God, trying to get one over on me. He's not getting an $11,000 salmon at my wedding.
Yeah, exactly. That's not gonna happen.
No.
Yeah, you'll start things and like you'll be like I remember going like, haven't you like not talked to him in like forever? I'm like, yeah, we're not mad at each other. We just haven't seen each other. It's like, yeah, but neither of you have made the effort to even, when you put it on Instagram, did he heart it? I'm like, no. Then he doesn't care.
No, he doesn't care.
He's not going to be sitting around going, that bastard Paul didn't invite me to the wedding.
Right.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's exactly like that. You're exactly right.
Yeah. Keep your circle tight.
Trust me, I intend to.
Yeah.
I intend to, my friend.
Yeah. And look, here's the thing. If somebody doesn't get invited and they feel, listen, then they just have to up their friend game a little bit. They either have to walk away or up their friend game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a perfect solution. At the same time, too, I could always play it. I'm trying to save you money. You've got 3 kids at home.
Yeah.
Like,
but look, the people with kids, most of them will be like, thank God. Like,
yeah.
you know.
Yes.
Or they'll be mad because they're like, well, this is the one thing we had an excuse to like.
To leave. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. That's it. Hey.
Hey, you want to keep it cheap in Minneapolis and have people not go February 10th.
Oh, trust me, that was a consideration. That was on the table.
Yeah.
That was on the table.
But believe me, there'll be a venue that's like, you just want to just come on.
Yeah. Oh, please. We'll even give you an extra discount. You want to have it when?
We'll get you friends and family right here.
Business? You want to give us business at this time of year?
We've got a Prince cover band they'll do it because they need to rehearse.
Right. Right. Exactly right.
They got to get ready for the springtime where they're all over the city.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Yeah. All right. So, Pierre, last Friday I did a top 5 about potential coach hot seats. And one of the coaches I put on there was PJ Fleck. Now, I don't think he's reasonably on the hot seat right now because he appears to be well liked in Minneapolis, and that he's, they're not like, well, I mean, at least, but I'm looking at Indiana, who in the course of a year hires Curt Cignetti and is now 5-0. This is the first time they've done that in a very long time. And if you're a team like Minnesota that doesn't know what 5-0 feels like, really, and you're looking at Indiana, who's now going to make a bowl game for sure, and might even make a pretty good one, because all they have to do is win one more game, and they'll probably win at least 3 more games, that they're looking at Indiana's probably right now looking at an 8-9 win season, given their schedule. So you turn that around in a year with Curt Cignetti, that's where I think schools like Minnesota and, I don't want to say Northwestern, they just went through a coaching change, but schools will go, hey, whoa. What?
Yeah.
We've been doing this for a couple years now, and how do we get some of that sweet 5-0 juice?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to and I don't want to take anything away from Curt Cignetti and everything he's done at Indiana. I mean, you look at that schedule, though. I mean, this is outside of the Maryland game. This is the schedule for Indiana so far has been pretty cupcake. Let's be honest about that. But at the same time, too, I was just having this discussion with a colleague of mine, not that long ago. When you're looking at the new look landscape of the Big Ten, and you're talking about a team like Minnesota, everybody has to. I think if you can go 8-4. If you can have 8-4 seasons and get into a decent bowl game, maybe every once in a while you might sneak up to a 9th win. This is where you are. This is where you probably can only at best hope to be. Now, in terms of PJ, in his situation, it's a mixed bag, because I think there's a lot of people here who are ready to pull the plug, but Minnesota is in a difficult position because that buyout is going to be awfully costly for PJ Fleck to go. And on top of that, too, I have the same question for everybody. If you let PJ Fleck go, who's the next guy? Who's the next guy that's going to look, not only be the next guy to be the next guy, but also look at the program and say, you know what? I'm ready to take on this challenge. I think I can elevate Minnesota football into the upper echelon of the Big Ten Conference, the new Big Ten Conference. I would love to meet the coach that thinks that, because I have to imagine there's a lot of coaches around this landscape of college football that understand that in the Big Ten Conference, the University of Minnesota is a middle-of-the-road program. It just is. It's difficult to compete. And, again, the bottom line is the buyout's going to be too costly right now. At least right now, the buyout's too costly for the boosters and for Mark Coyle. It's just too costly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And look, I don't think they need to change horses in midstream. I do think that they need to maybe change strategies. That's where I think PJ, and I think he's someone I don't think he's one of those guys that like, this is the only way I want to win football games. Like what I call Jimbo disease, where this is the only way that I'm going to do this. The best coaches are the ones who are the most adaptable. And I think he's a guy, and you know him, but he doesn't seem to me like a guy who's like, well, we're going to do this because this is the only way that Minnesota can win games. Well, no, he'll find a way to, all right, we got to deal with the weather in Minnesota. Like that's something like you can't just run an offense that is only going to be valuable for you for 7 of your 12 games.
Right.
You have to have some sort of balance and things like that. But I do think there's a way to find an offense, find a system that works for you that can incorporate more updated, techniques and things like that.
Yeah, and I think, it's interesting that you say that because for the last 3 years, it certainly has felt that way, that it was PJ's my way or the highway kind of mentality, especially with him losing coordinators. Kirk Shiraka left, came back, left again, and on top of it too, he had Muhammad Ibrahim in the backfield for the last 3 years, a bell cow type back who you would absolutely want to give the football to 30, 35 times a game. Darius Taylor is one of the most talented running backs in all of college football. He had more targets than he had, I believe, carries in the game against Michigan, or receptions, I should say. It was something like that. It was very close. So as much as I think of PJ's offenses as run first all the time type offenses, with Max Brosmeyer at the helm, who's getting more and more comfortable by the week, they're throwing the ball a lot more. I mean, they were arguably an official screw job away from potentially beating Michigan last week. So I think PJ is adaptable to a degree, but I think he does have in his mind how he would prefer to like things to run. But as he knows, he will every once in a while subtly let everybody know that he realizes there's probably a lot of people that would love to see him go. Mm-hmm. But I know he would not like to go. I know he's very happy here. I know his family's happy here. So he knows he's under some pressure. I know he knows that. I know he's under the gun a little bit.
Yeah. But they do need to make, some changes. I just don't think that he's going to Jimbo this thing where this is the only thing that we can do,
Yeah.
And they are limited by their location and their weather more than most teams are, because they can get through a season, maybe 9 games without really severe weather.
Yes.
But there's going to be one. And when you're in Minnesota and you can't just kind of like, well, November, we're just going to roll the dice. You can't do that. Like, there's going to be a home game. And you've been there a long time now. You've probably not gone through a season where there wasn't at least one miserable home game.
Yes. At the handful of years ago, the Penn State game where they beat Penn State, it wasn't a heavily snowed game, but there was snow on the ground for sure. A couple of years ago, I can't remember who was at the end of it, but it was the last home game of the season. It's 3 hours before kick, and I'm already up in the press box, and I'm watching these poor individuals, Paul, who work for the stadium, just snow blowing all of the snow out of the seats, trying to get the seats ready. And I thought to myself, God bless that individual. I mean, what a job. Whatever they're paying this individual, it is not nearly enough. We definitely get 1 or 2 games like that a year here for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're going to get, if you just get one, you're like, after the season, you're like, man.
Yes.
That was one heck of we lucked out.
No doubt about it. We can survive the cold weather games, but if there's precipitation here, it's a different animal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've canceled games because they couldn't get all the snow.
Yeah.
The passed out.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, I was curious about that, just PJ Fleck from your perspective, because and sometimes you don't get fired because of what you're doing. You get fired because of things that happen around you. And then you're like, oh, crap. I didn't do anything wrong. It's just that this guy went and did everything right. And then it makes me, who I've been doing things right, have to change. But now people are impatient because rationale doesn't exist in this world.
And for those watching that aren't really familiar with PJ Fleck and his coaching style, I mean, a lot of it is tailor-made for college type athletes and college aged individuals. The catchphrases, the row the boats, all of the other catchphrases that he has kind of fall on deaf ears when you're losing. You tolerate the adults out there that are fans more so tolerate it when you're winning, but the message doesn't sit with them when you're losing. And I think that's where we're kind of at right now with this team and this program. But there's I would say there's too many season ticket holders and old Gopher alum that just don't accept it for what it is. It's almost as if they're on the team. I was like, you're not being coached by PJ Fleck. You have to accept it for what it is. And at the same time too, PJ's got a pretty good track record here so far in his time here. So
yeah,
I think he's earned the right to kind of work through it at this point.
Yeah, especially with the ridiculous amount of change. Like, I think more programs should see that, like, the world of college football is, it's so much in flux. And maybe don't just pay your buyouts. Like, just ride it out for a little bit and see what you're doing wrong. Now, if you're in a Billy Napier-like situation where you're clearly getting worse, then you've got to let him go.
Yes.
But if you are the same and maybe not getting better yet, then I don't think you need to make a change. Like, let them work it out. But if you're regressing, that's when you need to go.
Yeah.
So, and look, the way I see it right now, there's only a few teams in the country that are regressing. And, you'll see I did a top 5 today that is hot seat meter. Sam Pittman from Arkansas is on that list. And I just think it's because, they're kind of stuck. They're actually maybe a little better than they were last year, but they're not better enough, and they probably need some new blood. But like here in Waco, I can tell you they're regressing. Like they're not getting better. Like the same problems keep happening. BYU game was like all of them in one where, like it was the whole microcosm of the last 2 years of you fall way behind at home. You didn't have like any home field advantage you had was gone after the first quarter. BYU travels like crazy. So they had 10,000 fans in the stands anyway. So you've got 10,000 people that are really fired up about this. You've got other people heading for the door. And then in the second half, you make this great comeback, but you wouldn't have had to make it if you weren't down 21-0 before the word go. And that keeps happening over and over and over again, which is why Dave Aranda is under the gun here. And he's got to get it turned around fast. And if he gets to 6 wins, he's going to be fine. Especially if he gets to 6 wins now, it means he's done some really great work to pull this team up out of the gutter. But, every time you lose, it's going to get harder to get to 6. They're 2-4 right now. He's got 2 more losses he can take. If he gets a third loss, they're not getting to 6.
Yeah, and here in Minnesota too, when I look at the schedule, the only game, at the beginning of the season, I thought Rutgers would be a win, and now that's not looking like it's as much of a guarantee. The only other game I see for the rest of the schedule for them in terms of I'm pretty sure they're going to win that game is at UCLA next weekend. After that, it's Illinois, Penn State, Wisconsin. It's going to be a dogfight for this team year in and year out because of the schedule and the way the Big Ten has come together. It's just that's why I constantly am thinking, how attractive of a job will this be once PJ Fleck leaves it? I don't really know the answer to that question right now.
Yeah, I don't know either. So, when we come back, who is the next big boy to lose? Georgia lost this week in an epic game. Who's the next one to take a loss? We'll go through that. This is 365 Sports.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome in, Paul Catalina, Pierre Noujaim, here on the Triple Option. And Pierre, I did not get to see the Georgia-Alabama game because I was in the middle of a traumatic experience in Dallas.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yes.
I'm curious before we get started, what is the worst you've ever seen a team you love get beat in person?
In person? It probably would be off the top of my head, the teams that I root for. It would definitely be the Kings when they were in San Antonio, probably around 10 years ago when they just got absolutely shellacked. It's not like the team was all that good anyway, but they lost by like 25 or something. Like it was just it was more of a David Putty situation where I was just there to support the team, you know. And I knew what was coming.
Yeah. I knew Florida State was probably going to lose. I didn't think it was going to be quite that bad.
Yeah.
Like I left before the fourth quarter started bad because I couldn't watch it anymore, and we had about 2 hours in the car with traffic on the way back. So
I want you to know, actually, I was at a wedding on Saturday night, and I was having a discussion with somebody who recognized me from TV and wanted to talk about sports and stuff, and we got into this discussion, and you will be happy to know that I spent a solid 5 minutes just. And I might have had a couple in me at this point, but I spent a solid 5 minutes not talking with this person, but at this person about how Florida State was absolutely screwed last year by the committee. And I just went on this absolute tirade as if I went to the university, myself, and just couldn't seem to let it go. So I just want you to know that there are people out there that are looking out for you, buddy.
Yeah. I do. I want to know in the chat, what's the worst you've ever seen your team get beat in person?
I would love to know what
I want to know. I want to know, the and especially if it was unexpected. Like if you went thinking, hey, this game's going to be pretty good.
Well, let me ask you this: is it when you say the worst in person? Like, are we talking about?
Look, I was at wide right 3. That's the worst feeling I've ever had.
Yeah,
but the biggest ass whooping.
Yeah. Okay.
I bought tickets for this,
and
clearly you guys did too because you're just watching like I am.
Yeah, It was for me. It was definitely King Spurs from like 10 years ago. I remember it was around the time of my birthday, around my 30th birthday or 31st birthday or something like that. Yeah, it was a disaster.
Yeah, it was just I'm just curious because it's the like. I'd rather have the gut-wrenching feeling of because I don't know, makes you maybe feel alive a little bit more when your team loses in a tight one, because then you remember man, that game was nuts. I'm still pissed about this or that. Like this game, I will not remember like that. Man, I still had fun, but I'll remember after the second quarter, this thing was just, ugh.
Yeah.
Like it's just not, what you want to see. I'm in for a good game wherever I am. Look, I went to watch the Red Sox and Yankees play at Yankee Stadium, and it was a fantastic game, and the Red Sox lost. Now, baseball's easier to deal with because that was in June, and it was 1 of 162,
Right.
It still made me mad that I'm sitting there in my Red Sox hat, walking out and getting on the train, and people are like, look at this guy, huh?
Yeah.
With the Red Sox hat on. Look at this guy. He thinks he's a tough guy.
Man. The worst Dolphins loss in person I can think of was actually here in Minnesota about 5 years ago. I want to say it was like a 41-17 game, but I didn't pay money to see that game. I was actually credentialed. And then after the game, I went down to the post-game press conference for the Dolphins. I'm staring a hole through Ryan Tannehill thinking, you did this to me. How dare you?
Yeah. I remember that train ride back from the Yankee game. A lot of things happened. One, I met another Red Sox fan because I was getting harassed on the train by some Yankee fans, which I expected.
Sure.
But it is better to band together and be like, hey, I've got a guy. So but this dude, I say he wasn't from Boston. He was from country Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And so he had a couple of pops in him, like way more than I had.
Yeah.
He's like, no problem, buddy. I got you. You know, if these guys want to throw down on the 9 train, I'll throw down. I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'm from Massachusetts. I don't care. And his wife's like, she's like, honey. He's like, so anyway, we do this every year. We come here, I take her to Broadway, and then we go to a Sox-Yankees game. We do it every year. We love it. It's awesome. Although I had to pay 900 bones to see Harry effing Potter on Broadway. And he's like an old man. He's not even a kid anymore. He's like an old man, and it's like his children. I'm like, why do I give a shit about Harry Potter's kids? And
exactly.
like, this is the whole so then we get off, and his hotel, like, turns out we're talking, and their hotel and my hotel were right across the street. So we get out, and we're walking, and I had to pee really, really badly.
Yeah.
Just amazingly badly. Well, Bruce Springsteen had, like, a live on Broadway show at that time and was walking out, and so the police had the street blocked off. And I was, like, telling this cop on horseback, like, dude, I've got it. Like, I love Bruce Springsteen just as much as the next guy, but right now I don't care. And the entrance to my hotel is right there, and the bathroom is right around the corner. Will you let me go through? And he's like, you wouldn't be the first guy who pissed on the street in New York. And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna.
Right? Yeah. Please don't make that an option for me, sir. Like, I'm a grown man.
Yeah. And then like when I was walking through Times Square in the morning, I saw them again. He's like, hey, buddy, I got a wicked hangover, just wicked. They got coffee down here that's great. You should have a cup of coffee. I'll see you around town.
Dude, it's like, what if a cop? Here's the other thing too. What if the cop says that to you and you actually do it, and then he busts you for public urination?
I was like, this feels like entrapment.
Yeah,
this feels like entrapment. Like it feels like.
I'm not falling for this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the cop was more like, look, I'm, the boss is right there. Like,
right. Yeah.
He's right there.
I got bigger things to worry about.
Look, 1, I'm working, but 2, most of my day is not near this exciting.
Correct.
Yeah. Most of the time, I'm giving people like you tickets for peeing on the street.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly right.
So, okay. Next big boy to lose.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's going to be a minute for Texas. I think it's going to be a minute for Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say Miami.
Okay.
Because I think they've got a trap game coming up with Louisville on the road.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to say Miami in 2 weeks.
Okay. Yeah, I think when we say big boy, we're talking in the top 10.
Here's the thing. In 2 weeks, we're going to have another one because we've got Ohio State and Oregon in 2 weeks.
Right. That was going to be the one I was thinking of. But at the same time, my initial gut reaction is, and I don't know exactly how confident I'm feeling about this, but I mean, Missouri hasn't looked great. I mean, Missouri at A&M.
Okay, yeah.
Like Missouri at A&M, I think could be a game where they could get got. I know that I'm in no way am I saying that Iowa is going to beat Ohio State this weekend, but I kind of felt that the 20.5 point line might have been a little high, maybe a little high, but for me, I think Missouri might have an interesting dogfight on their hands against A&M this weekend.
Yeah, I think so. I think A&M has proven themselves, especially defensively, to be really salty.
Yeah.
And Marcel Reed, he's not going to, carve up any team passing, but he's a dual threat.
Right.
And that's going to be a problem. It's at Kyle Field. Very tough place to play. Number 1 on the video game, by the way.
Yeah.
I remember getting that, like, the list of rankings, and I've been to Kyle Field 75 times. You've been a bunch too, I know, when you were down here.
I actually never went to Kyle Field.
You never went to Kyle Field?
I was never able to make it to a game out there in my time here, believe it or not.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I can't believe it myself. I can't believe it myself.
Yeah. Here's a pitch. Here's the thing. Here's what we do. We'll do the Amazing Race Sports Edition.
Yeah.
The spinoff, and you and I will just host it. That way we just get the money anyway, and we don't have to learn how to work a loom in Morocco.
Yeah. I actually, you know what? You better copyright that now because that sounds like that could definitely be a thing in the future.
Paramount Plus.
Oh, that
amazing. people will race from sports venue to sports venue.
They need the content. I guarantee you that.
There we go. Let's get Phil on the horn.
Could you imagine if we get him as a guest on the show? That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
that would be absolutely.
I think the first part of it would be just us giggling.
100%. 100%. I interviewed Meredith Vieira about a year or two ago, and I, it was remote. It wasn't in person, but I said, Meredith, what advice would you have for young, aspiring game show hosts, in the minute? And she's like, "You trying to take my job, pal?" I was like, "No." I was like, "No, absolutely not." I'd love to be a part of a startup game show even, who knows? Like, come on,
yes.
She's like, yeah, okay. And she,
Yeah. No, I would love to see it. Also, I think we got cards we got to play. How many Egyptian American game show hosts are there?
Right.
None.
Yes.
None.
Thank you.
It's an untapped market.
Right. I'm one of these days I'm hoping somebody be like, "Oh, I thought you were such and such ethnicity." I was like, "What are you trying to say?" And no. Like, no, please, here. Have a job, have $500,000. Please don't sue us.
Here's what you should say.
Yeah.
And you should be like, $25,000 pyramid. Hello.
Wow.
You're already appropriating my culture.
Right. Interesting. Here's one way to resolve this, and we can resolve it right now.
Yeah. Is that Anthony Anderson right now?
Yeah. I think it is. I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is. I'd have to go back and look at that, but I think you're right. You're right.
Yeah. Like, hey, tough stuff, hang time. Hit the bricks.
God, yeah. You people watching this show, if you have any idea what hang time is, please absolutely get in the chat right now, because none of you even realize what an absolute hidden gem that show was back in the day.
Yeah. There were two Hall of Fame athletes on it, and Reggie Theus and Dick Butkus.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. They had to redo the not to spoil anything, but when Reggie Theus left the show, they had to redo kind of like the last episode and cut it off early, because Reggie Theus announced that he was coming back next year. But just like any other coach, oh no, he got a better deal somewhere else, and in comes Dick Butkus.
Yeah. Who knows all about basketball.
Oh yeah. God, I hope somebody in the chat knows something about that show.
Yeah. I'm glad that you got the reference.
I still remember the theme song. I'm not going to sing it, but I definitely still remember it.
Yeah. All right. Here's who I'm going to tell you is not going to lose for a while.
Okay.
Tennessee is not going to lose for maybe 3 weeks. They've got Alabama at home though. But in Georgia, this is an 11-1, 10-2 team to me, because I think they'll win one of those two games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're all right. We're not going to have many undefeated, if any, undefeated teams this year. We're going to lose Oregon or Ohio State eventually, and I do think I think Ohio State at Penn State this year is going to be a really big one, and that's a huge one for James Franklin.
I'm actually, funny enough, I'm looking at Ohio State's schedule as we speak. And I thought to myself, I think they're going to get Oregon. I think Ohio State will win that game at Oregon. And then I started to look down at the schedule. I said, Nebraska, yeah, I probably beat Nebraska. And then I'm looking at Penn State. I said, oh, wouldn't that be something if Penn State was just for once going to rise to the occasion and not be the third wheel of the Big Ten, And that's going to be, you're right. I agree with you completely. That's going to be such a big game for James Franklin. Such a big game.
Yeah. I'm trying to look at some of the other ones here and see, Miami, honestly, if they get through the next 3 or 4, I feel like somebody's going to jump up and get it, because nobody has perfect seasons. But,
can we in reference to Miami, can we just take a moment? I would love to take a moment, just how the Virginia Tech game, and everybody has seen the way that everything played out in the Virginia Tech game. Between that game and the end of the Michigan-Minnesota game, in terms of how things played out, I can't be the only one. I don't like to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway, because I can't help myself. I can't be the only one that saw the end of Miami and Virginia Tech and the end of Michigan and Minnesota and thought to myself, that was an ACC business decision, wasn't it? That was a Big Ten business decision, wasn't it? Like that. I mean, I cannot be the only one starting to like wonder, when some of these big name teams in terms of what's at stake for them. And now granted with Ole Miss losing to Kentucky over the weekend, that's not going to kill them necessarily in terms of getting into the playoff. So I get that there's more room for error for some of these teams, but at the same time too, when you have these lower tiered schools like Virginia Tech and Minnesota with an opportunity here to knock off a power team, a top 10 team, a top 15 team, and you're kind of looking at officiating a little side-eyed, I'm starting to get curious. I'm starting to get a little curious when business decisions are made. Yeah.
I don't think that Miami and Virginia Tech was a business decision.
Yeah.
It does look like it, I know, but
of those two games, that one looks less likely to me, for sure, of the two games.
Michigan, Minnesota, though, I'm with you on that one.
In the heat of the moment, especially in the heat of the moment of Miami and Virginia Tech, I was like, that was conclusive?
That
was
to me, that's just too hard to sell that he caught it.
Yeah.
Like, forever you're going to be like, oh, this guy caught it. And you're like, I mean, did he?
Yeah. But the ruling on the field was a touchdown, was it not? Yeah. So that was, I don't like to invite this kind of skepticism on officials and stuff like that. But every once in a while, Paul,
hey,
I look at it differently.
There is no group in America more protected than referees.
Yeah.
Than college referees.
Yeah.
Pro referees, we talked about this on our show yesterday. Pro referees have to at least sit in a room and one guy is going to ask them questions about how they did it. And I'm sure you've submitted questions to the pool reporter before.
Yep.
Where you're like, hey, can you make sure you ask him about this, or I was curious about this. And then the pool reporter goes in and asks those questions and takes those notes, and then they release it.
But they release the transcript. Yeah.
And I think that that's a better way to do it, because you don't want, like, you open it up to like a full press conference to a referee. Then people with like the crazy guy with an agenda can pop in there and if he's a better arguer than the ref is, then he's going to like discredit this guy unfairly.
Right.
But if you give them an opportunity to answer for it, but college referees can make terrible calls in these big money games. And then when you're like, hey, why'd you do that? And you're like, I don't have to tell you.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think I am 100% in agreement with you that that's the best way to do it for pro sports. I totally agree. Agree.
Yeah. I think, like, just do that. Like, look, I want injury reports. I'm not even, like, here's the thing. I know that it's for Vegas. I know the injury reports are for Vegas and for the gambling. That's fine. I need them because I need the nonsense of, they might play, they might not.
Yeah.
I'm a cheeky little bugger.
Yeah.
Look at me. I've got gamesmanship. It is so old school. It is so stupid. Look, we are not in a time where you may or may not have game film, right?
Yeah.
Like, there was a time where you might not have film on anybody because they weren't on TV or nobody exchanged film with you. You were like, their opponents were too far apart. You couldn't, Pony Express the film to you. It wasn't that. Like, now everybody's on, like, even if you hack their Huddle account and make sure they can't see it, all they have to do is go to ESPN Plus and watch the game.
Hey, I know.
Stored in archive there. Is it the all 22? No, but guess what? Their football coaches, they'll figure it out.
Yeah. All
right.
Pretty sure.
Their coaches get paid too.
Yeah.
So to think that they're not preparing for every possible possibility when they know after they, like, we just watched the quarterback, sprain his ankle last week and not play in the whole fourth quarter. We're going to have to prepare for the backup too, but maybe he's better. Just say it out loud. Like, this is, and I had lunch with a friend of mine yesterday, and he said, coaches should do that as well, because you could go out and get walloped in a game and your fans are mad at you. You go, how can this happen? And then a lot of your starters aren't playing, but since you didn't say anything to anybody, now it just looks like, oh, well, this is my starting lineup this week. You don't need to know why.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, because you're like, hey, where's this guy? And a place that happened last week was right here, where we found out after the game started that Baylor was going to have.
After.
It was like right after the game kicked off that Baylor was going to have like 8 guys out that we didn't even heard a word about all week. Didn't know like what injuries or whatever. Out. 2 guys got suspended. Now that one, I'm not surprised that they keep under wraps. But the other 6 guys, you're like, well, why didn't you just tell us that?
Yeah.
And so now, like, and here's the thing, the fans don't, like, if the media doesn't report it, then the fans, like, you know, they're in the game, and it's 21-0 with 5 minutes left in the first quarter, and they're like, hey, what the hell is going on here? Well, the coaching staff could have told you that these guys were out, so at least you'd have that in the back of your head of like, well, no wonder they fell behind. They've got some inexperience out there. But really, when you don't tell anybody that anybody's out, it just looks like you made lineup changes,
right?
And you made really bad ones.
Yeah, PJ Fleck loves to tell us every single week the injury report comes out 2 hours before the game. It's a running joke now at this point. Like, if we still got to ask, but that is exactly what he's going to tell you.
Listen, I need you, like, obviously this is going to be like publicly me asking.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do it the next time I talk to some other coaches that don't do this. I'll ask them off the record privately, and then you and I can share this info. But when you run into coaches, go, hey, what's the secret? Like, why the secrecy?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Mike Zimmer was a master of this when he was here as the head coach of the Vikings. Just absolutely, you know, and that was the frustration too with among members of the media when we were covering the Vikings under Mike Zimmer. We all kind of said the same thing to each other that you and I just kind of said to each other. It said, we all know there's film on this. We all know, like, it's not, you're not, whatever advantage you think you are gaining, it's marginal at best. And because especially in the NFL, where each team is its own enterprise, you know, competing with each other at the highest level, not just on the field, but off the field in terms of preparation. I don't know what competitive advantage you think you're gaining by just being like, well, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I do not. I will never understand it. Bill Belichick used to just put everybody that had tape on their ankles on the injury report.
Right.
Well, yeah, well, obviously his wrist hurts because he's got tape on it.
Right, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Okay. Do you honestly, like, Bill, I know that you're better than this than most people, but do you honestly think that Andy Reid isn't looking at this and going, well, Tom Brady's going to play?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, yeah.
I mean,
exactly. I mean,
curses foiled again.
Right. And the big names too that are not the quarterback, that are not playing the quarterback position in the NFL. I mean, all throughout the week you have 5 or 6 beat writers for every team. Then you have Schefter, then you have Pelissero. They're getting all the information right then and there. Like it's all being fed to them. So it's like, I don't know what you think you're trying to hide. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's insane. It's the silliest like thing in the world. I experienced it here. Like, there were times where Bryles would say, like, not say things, and I'm like,
yeah.
I mean,
I remember.
We know.
Yeah.
We saw him last week ride off on the cart.
Yeah. and Art would give you the, oh no, he's good. Like, Art would give you, he's good. He's feeling good.
Maybe a couple weeks.
Yeah.
You know, the most maddening to me is the Cowboys. So here's what the Cowboys do. The Cowboys will tell you when a guy is hurt, but they will not tell you how long he's going to be out. And if it's week to week, then they're going to play again this season.
Yeah.
But if you, like, for Tank Lawrence right now, if he plays again this year, I'll be shocked because they've given him the kiss of death. They've said 4 to 8 weeks. Because they'll say 4 to 8 weeks, which is a month or 2 months. So, he's not having surgery on it right now. But I guarantee you, a month from now, we'll find out that if he wants to play again, he'll probably have to have some surgery this year, or he'll have to have surgery in the offseason. And if they're really as crappy as they looked through the first few games, then they're just going to be like, you know what, shut it down. He's a free agent, impending free agent. You know, like, let's just move on from this. So we might have seen him play his last down for the Cowboys, but 4 to 8 weeks.
I wish we had more Dan Campbells in the world. That's all I really have to say about that. I mean, we need more Dan Campbells. We really do.
I agree with you. What happened? He broke the hell of his leg.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's not going to be playing for a while.
Thought I was going to have to put him down like an old horse.
Yeah.
No.
We really, as the sports fan and the sports media, we don't deserve a guy like Dan Campbell. We really don't.
No, we don't. You know what? I think anybody told Dan Campbell you're supposed to lie about these things, or if they did, he's like, I don't have time.
Yeah.
To come up with. Here's the thing: one lie has to beget a second lie, right?
Correct. God, so true.
So if I just tell you he's not going to play, we're really excited about David Montgomery's out. Well, we have Jahmyr Gibbs, and we're really excited about Sione Vaki. That's the rotation. Next man up. He'll be, they say he'll be back in a couple weeks. I'll tell you when he's going to play again.
Right. Right.
You've all seen him play. You know what he can do. You know what our offense is when he's in there. You get it.
It kind of feels like we're spitting in the wind here a little bit with all these people, but at the same time, too, you know what? It's a fight I'm still willing to fight. It really is.
No, I just think it's one of those things that people are so used to it and ingrained in it that they don't know that it's not working like they think it's working.
No, you just expect, from a head coach's perspective, especially with a guy like Belichick, you just expect them to take your crap, you've beaten them into submission with all the same rhetoric you spew out week after week. But it's no, I still have to ask the question. I still have to ask the question.
Garrett, who was it on the show that told us there's no more fragile individual than the college head football coach?
Was that Brando?
I don't know.
It might not have been Brando.
I want to say maybe Ross Dellinger.
Could have been.
Yeah, Ross Dellinger told us one time there's no more fragile individual than the college football coach.
I totally believe it. I totally believe it. 100%.
Yeah. Pro coaches aren't fragile. They're just set in their ways.
Right.
I've seen some grizzled coaches. I don't if I see a fragile one, I'm like, you're about to get fired.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But college coaches can be fragile and then they're insulated.
Yeah.
Urban Meyer, very fragile. Ryan Day, very fragile. That's the great thing about Nick Saban is that even though he had some times where come on, Nick, this isn't you. Kirby Smart's fragile as hell.
Yeah.
They don't, he's got this chip on his shoulder and they're the best team in the world. But yeah, Nick Saban would just be no, this is how it is. This is what we're doing. I'm not going to show any weakness here. He would say things that annoyed him, or he would kind of sometimes throw out, the party line a little bit, but he never seemed to me like a guy who was how dare you ask me?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I can tell you, as somebody, if you're a coach out there and you give me that kind of, you get upset with me for asking probably what is a reasonably expected question that you should be hearing. If you give me that, I'm going to be on your ass every single week now. Yeah. Now it's a game for me. Yeah. It's a game for me now. And I'm going to make you hate me by the end of the year.
Honestly, I think that I could probably steal a coach's identity faster, publicly. We can all do it. Sorry, Coach Meyer, what is your social security number, your mother's maiden name, and the name of your first pet in the street you grew up on? And he would list those off, and then he'd be like, hey, is Percy Harvin going to play this week? He'd be like, whoa, hey.
Yeah, come on.
Whoa. We don't talk about injuries here. You know that.
Out of nowhere.
Be professional. And you're all right.
Yeah. Be professional. The Matt Patricias of the world that tell people to sit up at a press conference like they're a kindergartner, for God's sake.
24 hours later, it's Urban Meyer had his identity stolen by 300 people an hour after his press conference.
Oh, man. Unreal.
Yeah. All right. Well, Pierre, congratulations once again.
Thanks, man.
And look, I'm a text away, buddy, when you get to that, point. And
Keep your phone handy. I have a feeling it's going to be coming.
I'm just recently out of it, so I remember all the things. I remember all the things I did. I remember the mistakes I made. I'm
there's no doubt I'll be stepping in it on more than one occasion here the next year. I promise you. I'm sure
I remember all the mistakes I made. So
keep your phone handy.
Yeah. Don't pull a Ray Romano and do something poorly so they don't ask you again.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. You get one of those and maybe it works.
Yeah.
It's not a very smart proposition.
In this situation, No, not this. It's not like you just got asked to clean the dishes in a restaurant kitchen, and you just like, I am just so useless at this. No, that's not going to work here.
No, don't do that. I thought at one point I was like, I'm really stressed about this. I feel like if I mess this up, like she would just take it over. And then I in my head, I was like going through the steps. I'm like, okay, step 1, good. Step 2, good. Step 3, good. Step 4, that's a tightrope. No, I'll just do it.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. You're 100% right.
That's a tightrope. All right. Later on the show today, I had it up right here. This is ridiculous that I turn these things off now. We've got Kevin Jennings, SMU. Okay, here's the deal. Kevin Jennings, SMU quarterback, is on the show at 3:30 today. And I have to ask him straight up and down, how do you feel about what you did to me? Like, do you feel good about that? Like, I was there seeing my team in person for the first time in a decade, and you just did that.
Yeah.
And he's going to be like, yeah, I feel totally fine about it.
Yeah, I feel great.
I've never felt better about anything in my life.
Yeah, my Saturday is more important than your Saturday, sir. Sorry about that.
And here's the thing. That's true.
Yeah.
In every sense of the word. Every game he plays is a step in the direction of his future. Every game I watch is just a game that I watch.
Yeah.
That's it.
100%.
We also have Taylor McCarg. We have Brandon Marcello today from 24/7 Sports. We're going to do Pod 4, which is the Four Corners Pod, Arizona, Colorado, Arizona State, and Utah. My top 5. And, just hang out, chill with our people. Just chilling, talking college football. Pierre Noujaim with us again next week. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.